Hare Ganga Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara.
Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest development. I was going to have a different episode come out this week, but nothing really could be more important than what we are experiencing together as a collective. I don't think many of us saw this coming. I don't think many of us, when we heard about coronavirus a month or two ago, really took it seriously. I think most of us think that problems happen over there. It's not over here. SARS was in China. Ebola was in Africa, but things don't happen to me here. And now we're experiencing what the rest of the world has experienced. Great uncertainties. And for most of us, we've never lived in these types of times before. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of uncertainty. But I just wanted to record this podcast episode to let you know what an opportunity this is. You know how we've been talking about the shift in global consciousness, the new paradigm, this new global awakening, the age of the Aquarius? It's here. That shift is happening right now. We are at the precipice of the most ginormous change that has existed in human history, in our lifetimes at least. And right now, though it feels scary, this is the great initiation. This is the awakening that we incarnated for. A couple days ago, when all of this really hit me, I was kind of, again, just in denial, I would say, of this all, don't buy into the fear. It's not real. I didn't even want to talk about it because it felt so heavy. It felt so far away from me. It's so not in my frequency. And now it's full on here, and there's no denial of it. And I think it's important that we address the elephant in the room because this is big. I mean, stores are shut down globally, and I don't think the energy has been like this in the collective since maybe before 9/11, which was, again, a very different situation. But the great opportunity in this is, first of all, to see it from a broader lens. What is this teaching us? If we believe in spirituality, we would see that nothing is accidental. Everything has a reason. Everything has a lesson for us. So I've been receiving a lot of hits of what this all means, and I just wanted to share some of them with you on this episode. The first hit that really came to me is that we are here to embody the sun. You know how people call themselves light workers? I want to create this phrase now that we are sun workers. We work for the sun, to embody the sun. What is the sun? The sun is a source of endless light, of endless warmth, of endless heat, of livelihood, of opportunity, of joy, of pleasure, of connection, of disinfection. This virus, or so it seems, is heat resistant. So it doesn't like the heat. So heat intolerant, or you would say. So essentially the reason why it is hitting worse in places that are cold and wet and really in cough season right now is because the heat is something that makes it slow down. Not saying it completely eradicates it, but it slows it down. So for example, the virus can live in a dark, cold environment on a surface for 15 minutes, whereas in the heat, or in the humidity in the sun, it can only live for 2 minutes. So that's why they say that in the summertime, this won't be as big of an issue because it won't be as contagious. So what this really means is the sun is the medicine, the sun is the antidote. And it's not just the physical sun, but us as embodiments of the sun. Us as shining our brightest lights when the world needs it the most. A couple days ago, when this all hit me, I went down into a fear spiral. It's a place I haven't been in a really long time. It was a little bit before the collective got the hit, but I kind of realized where we were going. And I was like, oh my goddess, wow, we might have to be quarantined. We might have to buy food for ourselves, stores might be shut down. And just the thought of it felt so overwhelming for me that it sent me into these worst case scenarios. Anyone else been there? And it was rough. It was heavy. It was not a good place to be. And I remember telling my friend, and she kind of responded a bit like, don't give in to the fear, which actually made me feel worse. So I want to preface this by saying it's important for us to acknowledge when our brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents especially are in fear, because us telling them, don't be afraid, there's nothing to be afraid of, is not what's going to lift them up. It's us being embodiments of the sun. When someone is panicking, they are overwhelmed by fear, and that is not a place that anyone wants to be in. So us shaming them is just going to further attribute to that. So us as sun workers, our jobs are not to point fingers at someone and say, you're fear-based, or to blame them, say, well, you created this because your vibration is low. That is not our jobs. That is not high vibrational. We must be so sympathetic of the people who are experiencing this fear. And we also are invited to keep our vibrations high. So I went into this fear spiral, and the next morning I woke up. And I woke up with this sheet of acceptance over me. You know what? It is what it is. We don't have to be quarantined, but it's the best situation to be quarantined. Not the worst, but the best to prevent this disease from spreading. I'm grateful that I've spent time creating a home that I really love, that it's not the worst place to be. Even if this happened a year ago, my living situation was definitely not ideal. So I'm so grateful that this got to happen to me now. I'm so grateful that I have a loving partner that I love to spend time with. I'm so grateful that I get to spend more time at home. You know, I was actually supposed to go to Dubai for my friend's wedding in 2 days, and then go to Bali Spirit Fest, and Bali's my favorite place, and teach at Bali Spirit Fest for the first time. And even before you travel, I was feeling a little bit of the travel jitters of like, I want to stay home. I don't want to go. And guess what? Source gifted me that opportunity. So I woke up with this sheet of acceptance of the only reason why we become fearful is because we're not accepting. This is what it is. This is the best case scenario because we don't want this disease to continue spreading. So we are invited right now to take the sacred pause that we've been waiting for. How many times have you said, I wish I had more time at home. I wish I had more space in my schedule. I wish I had time to do those e-courses I signed up for, or those Rose Gold Goddesses workshops that I haven't had time to watch, or to paint, or to dance, or to write poetry, or to clean my apartment. Whatever that thing is that you wish you had time for. I can't meditate. I can't work out. I can't do this. I can't do that. Guess what? Source gifted you that time. What a gift. You know, I think we're always looking for, as humans, the thing that we don't have. When we have to go out, we want to stay home. And that's why there's a huge phenomenon of, canceling the last minute, ghosting. But now that we're at home, we're like, we can't go out. What? Like, why can't we just be happy that Source gifted us this opportunity to reflect? I believe, and this is my download from the higher perspective, that as a collective, we've become so busy. We've become so attached to our routines. We don't even know why we are doing the things we're doing. It just is what it is. Just like politically, we had the same thing happening every single year. And Trump, whether you like him or not, it definitely mixed shit up. It definitely got people talking. It definitely got people thinking. That same awakening had to happen with our lifestyles, with our society, with our global community. So this is even bigger than that. For the first time, we are remembering that there are other people around the world with the same hopes and fears and sorrows and dreams as I have. This coronavirus, COVID-19, is the greatest unifier if we allow it to be. Our low vibrational selves will make this the greatest divider of our lifetime, but our high vibrational selves will make this the greatest unifier. This is our invitation as sun workers to choose. The low vibrational path will go to Costco, punch someone in the face for the last toilet paper roll, take everything we can, whether we even have space for it or not, whether we eat it or not, because we're so afraid that the person next to us becomes our greatest enemy for survival. The high vibrational path, the highest self path, the 5D path, sees this as the great unifier. For the first time, we know that other people are feeling the same thing as we are feeling. We're not so caught up into our routines, but we're just looking from this higher global perspective. Has anything like this ever happened in history? No, not in our lifetime. The high vibrational path is to see this as an opportunity to step up, to anchor into the sun that you are. This is go time. Everything else has been practice for this moment. I really want you to hear that. We meditate, we do breath work, we write in our journals for this moment. Sun workers, if you're hearing me right now, it's go time. This is our initiation. We are being called to lead and to stay and to rise in the light. We are here to shift the planetary frequency, the collective fear that is plaguing us, that is making us forget about our elderlies, forget about our children, forget about all of the people living outside who are the most susceptible. This fear that is the root chakra deeply wounded, making us so fearful of our survival. We are here to raise that. We are here to remind that this is all happening for us, not to us. This is happening for us so we can rise. So we need to stop pity partying ourselves. Yeah, you can sit in it for a little bit if you haven't yet. You can cry if you haven't yet, and get back to work. Because this is why we incarnated in this lifetime. This is why we're here. This is why so many spiritual people have chosen to incarnate in this lifetime, because we are meant to be part of this planetary shift. And it just makes me so emotional to even share this, because we've never had a moment like this in history. And this is such an incredible opportunity. Oh my gosh, the sun is just shining so brightly. It was cloudy. It's been cloudy for the past 2 days, and the sun is just shining so brightly on my face right now. This is our invitation to rise up and to share. We can't give into the fear. We can't forget about the people who are the most at risk right now. We have to be the ones to stand in the light. If you are hearing this, you are a leader. You are part of this movement. And this coronavirus is just a small ounce of what is really happening on the collective, things that I can't even speak about. But there is a massive shift happening globally. I'm sure you felt it. Our bank system is going to be different from now on after this. Our political system is going to be different. All systems of corruption are falling. Notice the shifts in power right now. Pay attention. Pay attention to the things they're not sharing with us in the media right now. COVID-19 is real, and it's distracting us from what's really happening, which is a massive shift in the people in power. And we don't know all the details. I don't know all the details. It's progressing day by day. But just pay attention to the greater implications of what's happening, that this is an opportunity for us to create that heaven on earth. This is the energy of Kali Ma that burns the house to the ground to build the new one back up. This is our opportunity to seize this moment and to look at everything that we have thought. All beliefs right now are being eradicated, are being burned to the ground. This is a time to eliminate yourself from any ideologies that you've been holding on to, and to step into the frequency of who you've been waiting to be, who you've been too damn busy to be. What do you want? You've been gifted these days, weeks, months. I don't know how long this is going to go on for, however long it needs to go on for, however long it takes for us to realize that we are here to be the sun. So we will have everything taken away from us that reminds us how reliant we are on the outside world, and how starved we are of tuning in within. If you think about it, if this happened even 100 years ago, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal. Do you know why? Because we could have grown our own food. Many people did. We had plots of land. We weren't reliant on ordering everything from China. We didn't even use toilet paper, like Persians, we use a water thing that we clean our asses with, and it's the best. That's like the real way to clean, guys. Stop hoarding toilet paper. But what this is reminding us of is how reliant we are on the outside world. I guarantee you they're going to shut down trade soon. Yeah, they're going to shut down trade most likely. And it's just a huge wake-up call to how we live the Amazon life. I feel you. I do it too, but this needs to stop. I believe this is happening. This is orchestrated by Mother Earth from the grandest level, because we have been traveling nonstop. We have been polluting in her oceans. We have been polluting in her airs. And we needed to stop everything so we can remember, so we can notice our actions and the implications that it has on the planet. Trust me, I used to be one of those people who would travel all the time for fun. I was a gypsy soul, but I didn't realize the implications that has on our planet. Every single flight you buy is CO2 emissions going straight into the atmosphere. So planes needed to stop. Right now, if you look at the sky in China, they can see the blue sky for the first time in years. All of those huge chemical-laden factories needed to stop. All of the airline travel needed to stop so we could remember what is right above us. So we could see our light. So we can remember our earth. So as of now, there are no flights between the US and Europe. The next thing that's happening are other countries are no longer permitting Americans to go to other countries. That's already been declared in many Latin American countries. And most likely there's going to be a global travel ban. Most likely there's going to even be a domestic travel ban. Again, I don't know. These are my speculations. Don't quote me on it. I hope it doesn't happen, but this is the way that it's looking right now. So without that freaking you out, look at what is the medicine in this. What is this teaching all of us? It's teaching us to know who the fuck your neighbor is, to know where you live, what plants grow near you. What are you escaping from? Why do you need to travel so much? How can we be more effective with our community, with our time, with the people around us? How can we transmute this pain and turn it into art? What I believe is going to happen after all of this, after the airplanes are stopped, after the factories are shut down, after the pollution is halted, is we are going to see the greatest growth of flowers and fruits and trees and plants that have been waiting to grow, but we haven't been letting them. Now, it's easy for us right now in fear and panic to buy everything in plastic. But remember, the grocery stores are not shutting down. They haven't even shut down in Italy. So you don't need to buy everything in plastic, all the chips, all these things that you're probably not even going to want to eat. This is time for us to go back to earth. This is time for us to connect. Maybe this is the time for you to even question all of the things that you're eating. Is this even serving me? I've been doing fasting on broths a lot of the days. I haven't eaten food today. I feel great. And it's like 5 p.m. because I'm running off of a higher frequency right now. Again, if you have a history with eating disorders, don't do this. But a lot of us are super dependent on food when we don't need it. Like how many times have you overpacked food, overbought food, overordered food? What happens to our human brains in times of panic, and this is clinically shown, is we can't even realize what we need. When we go into panic, that part, that receptor of our brain that's like logical and knows what we actually need comes off. So we essentially begin hoarding. We begin panic buying. We buy everything in sight. And that's why we're seeing Costco's and Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and all of these stores literally clear, empty shelved, you know? And I feel I don't want to blame anyone. I don't want to blame you. I don't want to blame me. I don't want to blame anyone for doing this because we're afraid, and that reptilian part of our brain that's just solely based on survival is activated. And we're like, oh shit. If other people are taking everything off the shelves right now, then that means I should be doing the same. Because if I'm not, then I'm going to fall behind. I'm going to be that one person who didn't get enough food, and I'm going to starve. Again, have compassion for that side of your brain. Use the Kuan Yin medicine, love and forgive that part of yourself, and raise up the frequency that you're going to be okay. You know, the farms are still going to be operating. We're still going to have earth. There's still nature out there. You know, the hiking trails and the beaches and the forests are not shut down for service. Nature is not canceled, guys. But we are so used to man-made everything, man-made grocery stores, man-made entertainment, man-made offices, man-made everything, that when the man-made stuff is canceled, we don't know what to do with ourselves. It feels like the apocalypse, but actually, Earth is 100% okay right now. It's actually going to be doing better than ever before. So really, this is a reminder for us to trust. This is a reminder for us to simplify. That time that we've been wanting to reflect is here. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to spend, the next 2 months or however long this takes on CNN.com and Instagram? Probably not. Is that going to be the best use of your time? Did you know that in the 1600s at the University of Cambridge, when they were shut down for the bubonic plague, that is when Isaac Newton created the gravity theory? Literally, gravity. We figured out about gravity because he was shut out of school and he used his time wisely. He wasn't on Instagram. He wasn't Googling, am I going to die? And he's like, I wonder why do things fall at the speed that they fall at? And literally created this physics theory that essentially created modern physics, right? How do you want to use your time? The same thing with Shakespeare. I don't know what year that was, but Shakespeare also wrote one of his sonnets, I'll look up which one, at a time when his village was shut down because of some sort of disease. So if we look at Shakespeare and Isaac Newton and all of these geniuses creating their best works at a time of global dis-ease, then this is our opportunity to do the same. The energy is low. Your emails aren't bumping like they normally are. You might not even have work right now. Use this time wisely. Use this time to create something that the world really needs right now. I have a lot of friends who work in entertainment. My husband works in entertainment, and that's shut down in the way that it was before. There's no music festivals right now. Coachella, Ultra, all these festivals were canceled. So how can we deliver that information online to people? How can you take your yoga class online? How can you take your healing practice or whatever that it is that you're doing and bring it online? This is a chance for you to reinvent your business and to actually serve more people. So what are you going to use this gift as? You've been gifted indefinite amount of time to truly tap into your dharma. How do you want to use it? I know the temptation is high to constantly want to refresh the news, and it's okay to want to know what's going on in the world. I'm not someone who's just like, I'm throwing away my phone. I don't want to know. Some part of me wishes I could do that. I can't. I like to stay in the know. So I'm also checking the news, and I'm not spending my whole day on it. I will literally put my phone on the other side of the room so I don't have access to it, so I can live my damn life. So what I have been personally doing with this time is painting. I have been doing something I've always wanted to do for a very long time called acrylic pouring, which are essentially taking these different acrylic paints with this cool like polymer. It's like a kind of glue that keeps the paint separate. So you can put the paints together in a cup and pour it over the canvas, and the paints don't mesh together. They actually stream really beautifully. So it looks like marble. So if you go on my Instagram at I am Sahara Rose, I've posted some of the pictures there. I'm sharing how I do it on my stories every day. I don't sell the paintings. It doesn't make any sense with my business, but I do it for fun. I do it because it brings me joy. I do it because it feels good, and that is enough of a reason to do it. So what is that thing that you haven't had time for, that you've really been wanting to do? Maybe you want to get artsy. Maybe you want to write a poem. Maybe you want to cook at home more. Maybe you want to reorganize your closet. Those things that have been on your bucket list forever, this is your opportunity to do it. This is also your opportunity to step into your dharma in a way that you never have before. Again, what is that thing that you know your soul is asking for, but you haven't had the time, the courage, the strength to go into it yet? Maybe it's writing your book proposal or your screenplay, or putting together your website, or getting testimonials from people, or doing free coaching calls with people. Do you know how many people would love to do a free coaching call right now and would give you a raving testimonial? Do you realize what an opportunity this is? So when we see it from that lens of, oh, wow, this is a gift. This is a gift of time. This is a gift of perspective. This is a gift of a global planetary shift. We treat it in such a different way. We don't become afraid of everything. Yes, continue to self-quarantine yourself. I have been self-quarantining myself. We do that even if you have a strong immune system. It's for the other people that don't. And it doesn't mean you have to socially isolate yourself. I'm finally going to have a Zoom call with my college roommate that I haven't had time to have a Zoom call with for like 5 years. I've reached out to some friends that, I've been following on social media, like, hey, let's actually talk on Zoom this week, or Skype, or whatever, FaceTime, whatever you use. This is our opportunity to really look at what are those things that I've really been wanting to do, the people I've been wanting to connect with, the steps I've been needing to take. How many of you have an online course that you purchased that you haven't had time to do? Anyone? Show of hands. I know I do. I have a lot to learn. I know a lot of my Rose Gold Goddesses do, because I see how many of you guys do the workshops. There's our Awaken Your Powers masterclass with Shaman Durek. There's my talks at Google and at Facebook, and so much in there. Dozens and dozens and dozens of workshops. All of the goddess months, all are in there for you in Rose Gold Goddesses. And now I see how important it is to have online community at a time like this, because it's more important than ever that we communicate with other people. Again, quarantine does not mean to literally isolate yourself. It doesn't mean to be in jail. It means to be at home, to not risk spreading anything that you may be an unknowing carrier for, and to use this time to reach out to people. So I'm so grateful I created Rose Gold Goddesses, last August is when we launched, and now having 2,000 of you in this community share, the support that you guys are giving each other in the community, sharing how you're getting through this difficult time, how you're moving through this transition, praying for each other, healing each other. It is so beautiful to watch. And this is why so many people say, oh, I don't need online community. I don't need more people to chat with online. It's still a person on the other side. And I think the new paradigm is going to cause us to shift the way that we communicate. Because yes, in-person meeting and interaction is of utmost importance, and I can't wait for that to be back. I can't wait to go to dance classes again and ecstatic dances again. Trust me. And let's really use social media, online communities to their highest extent. We can have a dance party online. We can all take videos of ourselves and post it online and essentially be dancing with one another. We can do a slam poetry night that we all just hop on a Zoom call and share our poems with each other. Every month in Rose Gold Goddesses, we do goddess circles, all online. We have one of my Rose Gold Goddess facilitators who does tapping and all of the prompts that I write each month, again, in person. So everyone's doing it together. We have monthly members leading their workshop, monthly experts leading their workshop. And you can create this for yourself too if you don't want to join Rose Gold Goddesses. But the key here is to really use technology for its optimal benefits. That we've villainized social media for so long, and it's time for us to look at it with the light that it can be. It's time for us as sun workers to use it as our tool to raise global consciousness. If you are someone who knows you're here to make the world a better place, if you're listening to this podcast, especially this deep in, especially after me crying on it, you're a real deal. Now it's time for you to turn the volume all the way the fuck up. 10x that shit. Whatever it is that you are good at. Is it song? Is it dance? Is it poetry? Is it technology? Is it the law? What are you good at? 10x that shit, because we need it. It's time for you to shine your light in the greatest possible way, in ways that you didn't even know you were capable of. It's time for you to get out of the spiritual closet, to be bold, to be wise, to be strong. Because guys, there are a lot of people in a lot of fear right now. There are a lot of people panicking. There are a lot of people who are worried how they're going to pay their rent. And we can hold them in what they're feeling and rise them to the light so they could see what a gift this is. You know, maybe they're not doing auditions anymore, but how can you take your acting skills on your YouTube channel? Maybe they're not doing, restaurants, but maybe it's time for you to share your recipes on a blog. It's time for us to think bigger. It's time for us to rise up. So what I want you to do right now is think of anyone that might be needing some love, even people that aren't saying it, because we're all feeling it right now. Send them a message. How can I support you at this time? Send it to everyone you know. How can I support you at this time? Just them knowing that you're there is going to make us all feel so much less alone. Next, I want you to think of any elderly that live in your area. Maybe they live in your apartment building or anywhere else. And I want you to write on a piece of paper, is there anything I can help you with? I'm glad to get something for you or order something for you. I'm able-bodied too. Let me know. I live at wherever. Let your elders know that there are people taking care of them. My grandmother is currently in transition. I got the news of it yesterday. Yesterday was a really rough day for me. I woke up and our electricity went out. And I was in the middle of trying to figure out what food we needed, which was panicking me. And our electricity went out and I was like, oh shit, the true blackout has begun. Now I don't have Wi-Fi. Now I don't have lights. Now I don't have anything. And now all this food I just bought is going to go bad. So it felt like the world was crashing down on me. And then I got the text saying that my grandma has been moved to hospice and is going to have several days to live. She's at this moment still alive, but in transition, she can't speak right now. And it was one of those moments that you're like, those moments that you're like, wow, could things get worse? You just feel that for an ounce. And then I was like, nope, we're moving through this. We're moving through this. And I pulled myself back up into the light. I remembered the good times I had with my grandma. I remembered how beautiful it is that she got to live until 94 years old. I went outside and I prayed for her and I cried in the rain. And I prayed for her light. And I knew that I'll have another angel with me. And I FaceTimed with her. And she opened her eyes for the first time hearing my voice on FaceTime. And she moved her hand, which was the first time I saw her move her hand in that day. And she's in the middle of being here and not being here. She's in the time that her ego has left the body and only her soul really remains. Time of complete stillness. And it was just so beautiful to be in her company. I can't visit her in person because of the virus. They're not letting us visit her. And she lives in Boston, so I can't even travel. So this was what I had with her. And it was just such a beautiful reminder of this journey of nothing is promised. Again, we can plan a pretty picnic, but we can't predict the weather. So we have to take each moment for the beauty that it is. So many people live their lives wasting their many moments, their many opportunities. Source gifted them so many opportunities to rise into their light, but they never said yes to it. They were too caught up into the fear. And I acknowledge that. And I invite you to not be part of that population. My grandmother lived in a time that women didn't have many choices. I've mentioned her on this podcast before. She was married when she was 14 years old, never went to school, and her life was extremely traumatic. And because of that, she never got to really formulate who she was. Who she was an extension of who she served, who she was around. And to think that just my grandmother, it's not that far, she's in this at this moment, still incarnated, was in a child marriage, was never given any opportunity, was essentially forced to flee from her country at a time of revolution, at a time of massive uncertainty. And she made it this far. And, we can't go back. I wish she had more opportunities. She grew up in the time that she grew up in, but we have those choices today. And a lot of us aren't fully saying yes to them. We aren't fully aware of how much choice and power we have. Again, I wasn't raised like this. I wasn't even spiritual, really until I was 23 years old. That's really when I had my big awakening. So at any opportunity, you can shift your mindset, you can shift your worldview, you can take this opportunity right now to be that huge catalyst for you, where you said no to living life on someone else's terms, where you said no to living in fear, where you said no to living in dogma, where you said no to living in limiting beliefs. And you take this as that void, that great void we experience, that breakdown we experience before the breakthrough. This is your opportunity right now, that opportunity that your grandparents never really had. Are you going to take it? This is our initiation. This is our training. This is why we are here. There's no coincidence that all of us spiritual souls came at this planet at this time. So are you going to say yes to it, or are you going to keep scrolling on Instagram and keep giving into the fear? Again, this might sound intense, and it is intense. I'm not going to downplay that. I am not here to create a bubble for you. I'm not here to tell you that everything is dandy and everything is fine, because right now it's not. But it's our opportunity to make it that way. What can you do in this moment? As small as leaving a note for your elderly neighbor, as big as using your voice. Get on your social media channels right now. Get on your Facebook, get on your Instagram, start your podcast, start whatever it is you need to do. Send an email to everyone you know and remind them that this is happening not to us, but for us. This is a time for us to use our time wisely. This is a time for us to anchor into the light. This is a time for us to not give into the fear. This is a time for us to fully live our dharma. This is a time for us to ask ourselves, what are we passionate about? This is a time for us to remember nature, remember earth, remember our planet, remember our stars, remember why we are here. This is it. We need to be screaming it from the top of our lungs, louder for the people at Costco who can't hear us because they got too much toilet paper over them. This is our time, y'all. This is real. This is real deal shit we're dealing with. And this is a real deal opportunity that we have. This is when light workers, sun workers, guardians of the light are created. So are you going to say yes to the opportunity? Or are you going to sit in the sidelines? I'm grateful to be here in the shift of collective consciousness with you. Again, I don't know where it will take us, but I know everything is always bringing us back into the light. And I will continue to hold that frequency for you, even when you can't see it in yourself. And I hope that you can hold it for me, even when I can't see it myself, because that is why we are all here. We are all here to raise consciousness for each other. And there are going to be times that I forget. And there are going to be times that you forget. And there are going to be times that she and he forgets. But we get to remind each other We get to be that voice. We get to be that anchor. And even if you're not sure how it's going to play out, even if you're afraid because you don't know what to tell your kids, even if you're really afraid of your own parents' health right now, we need to anchor into the light because that is why we are here. Whew. Thank you for being on this journey with me. Whew. For being part of this shift, for being part of it all. I'm so grateful for you. And we're doing this. We are doing this together. It's not this too shall pass. I hear a lot of people saying this. This too shall pass. It will pass, but it's not about writing it out. It's about raising it up. And that's really what we need right now. We need to raise it up. We need to get out of the bubble, and we need to use our voices. We need to use it wisely, strongly, powerfully, unapologetically. It's time. I love you guys so much. Thank you. I'm on my Instagram posting stories all the time, bringing in the light, bringing in the sun. It's at I am Sahara Rose if you're not following me there. Rose Gold Goddesses, there's such beautiful activations happening. We're doing a live prayer circle tomorrow, rosegoldgoddesses.com for more info on that. I'll continue podcasting, continuing relaying messages of the light. So if you're new to this podcast, just hit subscribe so you can remain in the loop. And I'm excited. I really am excited for the shift to come. We needed it. Just like we needed Trump to become our president to see how our political sphere was not serving us. We needed this to happen for us to see how our lifestyles and our indifferences and our disassociation between the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health were. So I'm so grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be anchored into the light with you. And thank you for being part of this shift. Thank you for choosing to incarnate at this time. Your work is powerful. Aho.